Workers' Day there in that province. Let's cross now live to Mlungisi Khumalo, who's at one of the marches in KwaZulu-Natal. Mlu, thank you very much indeed for your time. Which Labour Federation are you covering this morning?
Good day to you, playing in studio as well as to our viewers at home. Currently, I'm covering NUMSA, the biggest union in the whole entire country, as well as in the whole of Africa. Now, you understand that the National Union of Mental Workers of South Africa currently boasts a strong number of 380,000 workers. Now, you also understand that this was the very same union which was suspended from South Africa's biggest Federation of Trade Union, COSATU. But of course, we understand that when they broke away from the Federation of Unions, COSATU, they then also formed a political party, the South African Revolutionary Workers Union Party, which is led by Ivan Jim. And we also understand that now NUMSA, as it stands, are now a part, or rather a member of the next Federation of Workers, which is also known as SAFTU, the South African Federation of Trade Unions, which is also led by Zwelithini Mvavi, who once led COSATU. But with me today, I've got the Secretary General of NUMSA in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, Mbuso Ngubane. Thank you very much for your time, Mbuso Ngubane. What can we expect today from your May Day celebrations?
Yeah, thank you. We are expecting a lot to happen today. As NUMSA, we are here led by SAFTU as a federation of unions which are affiliated, and you'll know that NUMSA is also a catalyst behind the establishment of SAFTU. We are also going to be marching with Abahlali Basemjondolo, as we have always said that as NUMSA we are a revolutionary union and we seek to unite and mobilize all the sections of the working class. Hence we'll find Abahlali Basemjondolo being part of our march, because we understand that as a revolutionary union we are also affected by the social ills confronting Abahlali Basemjondolo and other communities out there. But also today we are going to be marching with the Socialist Revolutionary Workers Party as the vanguard party that we have established, as well as NUMSA. Again, we will remain a catalyst behind the establishment of the Socialist Revolutionary Workers Party, and they are going to be marching with us today. And all what we want to do today is to make sure that we express and we fight for our plight, and amongst other things which we are concerned about and we are fighting against is the reversal of our benefit as workers in this country. The current government led by the ANC would have seen them making some very silly, ridiculous amendment, particularly in the Labour Relations Act. Today, they've made it very difficult for workers to embark on strikes. We are told that we must ballot. As NUMSA, for instance, we are preparing for negotiations, and we're asking ourselves, particularly in the motor industry or the motor sector, how are we going to make workers to ballot, knowing the kind of employers we have who are intransigent, but also we've got so many garages and small employers which are penal beaters and so forth. How are we going to reach all of those workers, and at whose expense? So it is clear that the current government is actually embedded in the neoliberal policies that seeks to do away with the existence of unions in favor of the capitalists that continues to exploit and oppress and suppress our own people, particularly the working class.
Now we understand that not so long ago you left the Federation of Unions, COSATU. Now since you've left that federation, what are some of the challenges that you have experienced along the way?
Look, we did not leave. We made our point. We said we must break away from the alliance. Alliance was no longer helping us. We've wasted a lot of time in the alliance, wasted a lot of resources, making sure that we campaign for the ANC, and at the end, the voice of the working class was not taken serious within the alliance. And when we said so, then we were shown the door. And when we were shown the door, they said it was cold outside. And I want to say to you, there's nothing cold outside. It is very warm, because today we are an independent voice of the workers. We are able to say whatever that is a mandate given to us by the workers, and we are able to advance our own plight without any big brother calling us into order, telling us that we cannot say this this, you must say this, and so forth. So we think that now we need the workers must be mobilized. It is time that we must wage a revolution in this country so that the voice of workers must be heard. Hence, we have established the SRWP, and that SRWP, we understand that it will not going to be sitting in parliament, but it's contesting election on the basis that parliament remains one of the key centers of power, but it's supposed to mobilize all of us, and the theater of struggle is on the street, and we must advance the struggle to build a socialist state. And this is what we want to, this is what we're advancing, because under capitalism, the working class has suffered a lot.
Talking about the voices of the workers, of the laborers, we understand now that the current view and the sentiments from the ground, in particular from your critics, they said that unions are no longer doing their jobs today. In fact, they are in bed with governments, they are in bed with the employer, they are in bed with the same people that they are supposed to be negotiating with in the boardroom. Is that the view?
Look, we've seen that particularly in COSATU. We had also so many workers coming to NUMSA from the former sister unions complaining and so forth. But NUMSA has always remained a unique, militant, revolutionary union, and it has been recognized across the board. Even currently, we continue to show that we are a worker control union, and therefore we remain resolute that at no stage where NUMSA can actually be embedded in any neoliberal policies, and it will never be friends with our exploiters. All what we seek to do is to fight at the point of production to ensure that at some point we are able to achieve a conducive environment for our own members who are there in different sectors.
But Ngubane, we understand that it took you a very, very long time to break away from COSATU. When did you then notice that it was time for you to break away from COSATU? Because your critics say you broke away from COSATU because you were not part of the gravy train. Your critics also say that the current affiliation between COSATU as well as the ruling party and the SRWP is actually a prison for workers. Where are some of the views that you shared, and why did it take you such a long time to break away?
We raised all of these issues. The 30 years was spent in COSATU, even from the launching Congress of COSATU. NUMSA was there saying there was a need in building a workers' party at the time. And because of the democratic principles as a disciplined union, we had to succumb to the decision that was taken by majority. But consistently, we continued making that point to say these are the issues. We even provided in COSATU what we called a revolutionary agenda, which was seeking to challenge the neoliberal agenda that was advanced within the alliance. And in no time that resolution was being undermined by the leaders of COSATU and the leaders of the alliance. And we never wanted to leave COSATU. We thought we were going to be able to transform COSATU. We thought that we were going to be able to see the light of the day and be able to make sure that COSATU remains an independent voice, far away from the neoliberal policies. But we can say now that when they expelled us, it was indeed a day where we said it was a time that the workers are going to be able to liberate themselves further.
Now let's focus on SRWP without bashing COSATU. What advances has SRWP made in the workspace in ensuring that the lives of the workers are improved in the general workplace?
Look, SRWP as a federation that is fairly new, we continue to build that federation. You'll know that we've got so many new unions in the federation, and the unions like NUMSA, FAU, unions that have been there for a long time are there to assist in building all of those unions. We pledge solidarity with them, and we do see improvements, and we think that they are in line, they are pursuing the correct path, and we think that in no time that question will be seen by all. But what is good about the federation is that we've made it a point that there shall be no neoliberal agenda that gets adopted or find a space within the federation.
Lastly, Ngubane, we understand that yesterday there was an attempted coup in Venezuela where the leftist administration of Nicolas Maduro was nearly collapsed through a coup d'etat. I mean, Maduro is your leftist counterpart. What's your expression on that?
Look, we've got a good relationship with the people of Venezuela as NUMSA and also as SRWP. We've recently even deployed our young people to go there and work with other young people, mobilizing the sections of the working class in Venezuela. We are in defense of a democratically elected president in Venezuela. We have also made pickets in all over the embassies of the U.S. We are saying away with the neoliberal agenda that is perpetuated by Donald Trump against the democratically elected leader. And we know that they are also sabotaging people of Venezuela through ensuring that there's no access to food and so forth, so that the government is seen as if it's failing its own people. And we continue to mobilize even here in South Africa, pledging solidarity. And we are saying, we're calling all the sections of the working class all over the world to stand up against the agenda that is perpetuated by Donald Trump.
Thank you very much. That was Mbuse Ngubane from the National Union of Mental Workers in South Africa. Just in a nutshell, highlighting some of the strife that some of the workers are actually facing on a day-to-day basis. Now, you also recall, Brent, that in the year 1986, the 1st of May, workers throughout the United States, 300,000 workers to be much more precise, took to the streets, shutting down 30,000 businesses across the whole entire United States of America. Now, centuries later, that same tradition of celebrating workers is actually celebrated throughout the whole entire countries, when workers throughout the whole entire world are actually meeting at one central vocal point, expressing some of the concerns as workers. Over back to you, Mr. Plain.
Yeah, it was interesting, that last question that you put to your guests with regards to the situation in Venezuela and the what seems like a coup d'etat. We were listening to John Bolton yesterday, the U.S. National Security Advisor, and according to him, he was saying that according to the U.S., this is not a coup because they recognize Juan Guaido as the interim president of Venezuela. But it's interesting scenes in Venezuela, but interesting scenes in KwaZulu-Natal itself today, Mlu, where you have Cosatu, basically a stone throw away in Claremont, and then you have this event here, so seemingly competing federations. How's that playing out in the province?
Okay, Blaine, I did not get this one. Could you please kindly come again?
I was just asking about the, seemingly competing federations in KwaZulu-Natal, all in one province. You have Saftu here, you have Cosatu in Claremont. How's that playing out in the province?
Thank you very much. Actually, Blaine, I actually got that one. Now, yes, you mentioned that, and not far from where I am in Claremont Township, to be much more precise, Cosatu, the biggest federation of unions, is actually having its own rally, and they've invited the president of the country, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. And as well, we also understand that the SRWP's General Secretary, Dr. Blaine Zimandi, will also be there as well, and also Zungisa Losi, the president of Cosatu, will be there as well. But Saftu, on the other hand, they've actually deployed Zwelithini Mavavi, who once led Cosatu for a number of years. So they've deployed him over here to address the workers being part of Saftu. And you understand, Glenn, that politics is actually a game of numbers. Both federations will be trying to show their force of power, and of course they'll be trying to see if which other federation is actually able to get the number of workers. We also understand, Glenn, that currently in Claremont there's a number of unions that are actually meeting under one banner of Cosatu. But where I am currently, we understand there's just over 9 unions, which also include Abahlali Basemjondolo, who are also here, NUMSA as well, and other SAPU as well, a police union. They are also over here. But I mean, the biggest thing that everybody's going to focus on is actually going to be the numbers. In a nutshell, shortly, we understand that these marchers will be making their way to the Durban City Hall, where then they'll be addressed by Zwelithini Mavavi. But yes, again, it's very, very interesting that Almost years later, COSATU is no longer having their inaugural May Day celebration at the Curry's Fountain, where they were founded not so long ago, to be much more precise, in 1989, where they were founded, where they used to have actually their annual May Day celebrations. They are not here, however, but we understand that the reasoning behind this, according to a source of ours, that's COSATU and the ANC as well as the SACP are going to use that particular event to try and rally and garner for voters to vote for the ruling party in the upcoming election. Now, NUMSA, SAFTU on the other hand, they've also actually done the same thing as well. They're actually also rallying for workers to vote for the South African Revolutionary Workers Union. We understand that this is a union which is going to be represented by Ivan Jim in Parliament should they get enough votes in Parliament. So that is the politics plan that has been playing out.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed for your time and your reporting there, Mlungisi.